I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel and the website Global Math Institute. In this video, we'll discuss about absolute value function. Let us understand what is the difference between absolute value and absolute value function. And then we'll take up solving absolute value related equations and inequalities. All this is being done with my grade 8 student Abhinav, who is doing grade 11 mathematics. Our approach, engaging minds, help us to perform much better. We can now connect to context, visualize strategy, apply learnings, and bridge the gaps. Engaging minds help in creative thinking and problem solving. Gain the confidence. Get ready for future. We develop both mathematical and social skills. I can be part of your success story. Build strong foundation and ensure bright future. That is the gift of education. You can always contact me on the email address given. Join my classes. Now enjoy the learnings with Abhinav. Hi Abhinav, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. So today, what do you want to learn?
Like absolute values and graphing them with inequalities.
You want to understand what are absolute values, how do we
Yeah.
solve their equations, how do we solve inequalities, and also to graph them, right? It is a lot of stuff for one particular class. I'll try to, see to it that I can meet your objective of understanding all these things in today's class of 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
So let me begin with very simple concepts. Simplicity is the best thing. So I'll share with you a whiteboard, plain paper, and we'll start our lesson based on that simple concept. We are talking about absolute function, correct?
Yeah.
You say absolute value. You are also familiar with the term functions, right?
Yeah.
Since I earlier classes we had been using the term functions also. Absolute value is just a number, correct? When you say
Yeah.
absolute value, let's try to understand the two terms. What is the absolute value of minus 7? It is 7. You
Seven.
get the idea. What is the absolute value of 0? It is 0, and the absolute value of 1 is 1. This is what it means, absolute value. But as soon as we use the term function or a relation, in that case, we are talking about set of points. You get the idea?
Yeah.
So that is the absolute value which we are talking about. Now let's talk about absolute function. So let me sketch one to show you what actually absolute function is. We have seen above that all the values actually are positive. The output is positive even if the input is negative, correct?
Yeah.
And it has got the same value. So that means if I consider a line y equals to x, let's say this is my line which is y equals to x. In y equals to x also, the value of y is same as x, correct? That is what the line is.
Yeah.
Absolute function is very similar to this, except for that when x becomes negative, the y value becomes positive, and this line gets reflected. You see that idea? So it
Yeah.
gets reflected, and what you get is absolute value. So we have always, now we have absolute value of x. You get the idea? So
Yeah.
the portion of the line y equals to x on the right hand side of the y-axis remains same, but on the left hand side is reflected as you can see. And therefore, we could now define the absolute value of function as a piecewise function, two different pieces. One piece is on the left side of the y-axis, the other one is on the right side. So on the left side, we actually reflected the line. So I'm writing minus x. Minus x means negative value of x, right?
yeah,
when x was less than 0. However, it is same as x when x is greater than 0 or even equal to 0. Does it make sense to you?
yeah,
So that is what absolute function is. Now, you will see that absolute function has something which is kind of a vertex. This is called the vertex, just as you have it in a parabola, right?
yeah,
Vertex, which in this case also represents the absolute minimum. That means domain is all real numbers, right? So if I talk about functions, we always talk about domain and range, correct? You understand, right? So domain is
yeah,
from minus infinity to plus infinity. However, the range is including 0 above. You get the idea. Of course,
yeah,
infinity cannot be included, so we use that open brackets. Is this clear to you?
yeah.
Now, since you have understood absolute function, let's now look into its different forms. Okay, so I'll clear the screen and then again, let's explore absolute function. So if I make a table of values, for example, okay, so and if I put some values for x, then absolute value of x is just positive of that. For example, minus 2 will be 2, minus 1 will be 1, 0 will be 0, 1 will be 1, and 2 will be 2. Correct. So you also notice one thing from here that the graph is symmetric, right? So if I again sketch my absolute value function, then what do I notice? I notice that there is a symmetry. So this line here, which is x equals to 0, is line of symmetry. And this point, vertex is at 0, 0. You will notice when I say line of symmetry, that means if I have a horizontal line, it is going to cross at two points which are same distance away, right?
Yeah.
If this is, let us say, minus a, then that will be plus a. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Minus a, that will be plus a. Now, let's look into one more thing. That is, if I am going to solve the equation, it means what? So we are looking into two things today. One is to solve equation. Solve means what? Solve means this absolute value is equal to which value of y? This is solve equation, right? So if I say absolute value of x is equal to 5, it basically means that if I draw a line at 5, what are the x values? So in that case, I'll get x values as plus and minus 5. Not a big deal, correct?
Yeah.
So we can write this as x equals to plus and minus 5. So what you notice here is that we could have two solutions for an absolute function. However, if I have absolute value of x as equal to 0, then we have only one solution, which is x is equal to 0, correct?
Yeah.
Absolute value could also have infinite solutions or no solution. Can you give me an equation which will have infinite solution or no solution?
For infinite, you can do like, couldn't you do x equals infinity, absolute value of
Okay,
x?
so infinite solution, it will never have. Because solution really means what? Let me write down. So when you sketch a graph, in case of solution, whenever we have apps y equals to f of x, y equals to f of x, the solution is the x-intercept. You see that?
Yeah.
So there could be conditions where my graph of absolute function may move above the x-axis, for example, like this. Is that okay? Or it may move below the. So you see, in that case, in both these cases, we do not have any x-intercept, so no solution. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So there are possibilities where there is no solution. Example being that I write absolute value of x is equal to negative 5. Now, Can absolute value be negative?
No.
No solution. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we are going to represent the solution of an absolute function on a number line. So let's look into that part. So let us say I have an equation which is absolute value of x is equal to 7. Then on a number line, I can always represent the solution like this. That is my number line. This is 0. And let us say we have a point which is minus 7 and plus 7, right? So these are my solutions for the equation absolute value of x equals to 7. Of course, x is equals to plus minus 7, which can be represented on a number line as shown, correct?
Yeah.
Two solutions, absolute value. What you notice is both the points are same distance away, correct? Same distance away from the axis of symmetry, right?
Yeah.
Now, I could also think about absolute function not only as an equation but also as an inequality. Now assume that my question has changed and I want to now figure out what is the answer for absolute value of x less than equal to 7. Now from the above number line solution of the equation absolute value of x equals to 7, can you tell me what is the solution of absolute value of x less than equal to 7?
Negative infinity to 7.
No, everything in between because absolute value is within. This means within an interval. So on this graph, line graph, I will show this line as my absolute value of 7 solution. Do you see that? All the real numbers. So x belongs to real numbers where x is between plus and minus 7. You understand now?
Yeah.
Which is same as writing you include all the values between plus and minus 7. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
Within. So when we have inequality of less than or less than equal to, we are talking about converting the equation into an inequality where within is the clause. Is that clear?
Yeah.
For example, for say, my job is to travel and I prefer to live near the airport within 7 kilometers. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So, in the periphery, it could be anywhere within 7 kilometers. That's good for me. I avoid traffic and all those things and can catch a flight on time. So, that could be a practical example. You get the idea.
Yeah.
We have tolerance of materials. We say, well, 1% tolerance is allowed. That means if 100 is the value, then 99 and 101, everything within 101 and 99 or 99 with 101 is allowed. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Within that tolerance. So many places we see real life applications, correct?
Yeah.
So from here, you could connect three things. One, we have connected equation, their solution on the number line, and how does an equation help us to solve inequality? Do you see the connection?
Yeah.
So inequality, it could be within. And now I'll take the next example where it will be away from that. That means not within. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Not within means I do not want to live within 7 kilometers of a fish market. You get my point? Not within, right? So let me just move on to the next page and we'll not talk about inequality. And this time, we are going to take inequality where x is greater than or equal to 7 instead of within. This is not within, right? Away from. This is away from at least, you can say, right? The word at least. Or in short, not within.
Yeah.
That is easy, right? Okay, how do we solve this? Well, solution still of this inequality is kind of same. First thing, figure out what is the absolute value of x equals to 7 gives you. Well, that results into two solutions. X is minus 7 or it is plus 7. Then let me put it on a number line. On the number line, I get these 2 points, which are also part of my solution since I'm including equal to also. So I have minus 7 and I have plus 7. You see that?
Yeah.
When I'm saying greater than, so I'm trying to now show you the solution of absolute value of x greater than equal to 7. That means this is included, but it is away from. Do you see that away from fish market? You get the idea?
Yeah.
I do not want to be within this. You get the idea now. Away from this. So that is how an inequality can be seen or visualized. And this, remember, if you have to solve an inequality, it is a good idea to solve it as an equation first and then look for a region of solution, right?
Yeah.
So, is the concept of absolute function, basic, parent function, basic solving equations, and basic inequalities, is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So let's move further from here. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to do the reverse. And that is to say, I will give you a number line with the solution. You have to tell me the absolute function which represents the solution. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
So here we'll write absolute equation for now. Is it okay?
Yeah.
We could extend it to inequality also. So let us say that I'm showing a solution which is this. This is minus 10 and that is plus 10. So what is the equation? Tell me.
Absolute value of x is equal to 10.
Very good. Let us go to the second question. And in this question, I am saying that the solution now is only 10. Can I have a solution now when equation of an absolute value has only one solution? Or another question I'm throwing towards you, which is also challenging, where the solution is all. None. Sorry. Wait. No solution. Yes. Can you tell me solution for these three? A, B, C. Tell me.
I think for A it's absolute value
Done.
of x equal. For B, I think you have to restrict the domain actually greater than 0.
You could do that. Greater. A good question. So you could say absolute value of x equals to 10 where x is greater than equal to 0. So you restricted the domain to find the equation. Beautifully answered. But here is, look here, another way we could do it. And let's focus on this. Absolute value of x minus 10 is equal to 0. If I have this equation, can you tell me how will you solve this equation? And what will be the solution?
Yeah, so since 0 is the absolute value of 0 is 0, it's x minus 10 equals 0, and you add 10 to both sides, and you get 10.
So you get this solution, correct? Now we have to relate that absolute value could get one solution also. Why? Because what really happens is when you have absolute value of x minus 10, it means that the function absolute x translated 10 units to the right. So now this function is kind of like this. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And the vertex lies on this. Let us say this is 0 for us. It moved 10 units right. That is what it means. Translation, right?
Yeah.
Horizontal. In this case, the absolute function was absolutely in the center. And therefore, when I drawn the y equals to 10, I got two solutions. Do you see how coordinate plane and the number line Now overimposed can show you the whole picture. You get the idea.
Yeah.
And in this case, no solution means I actually moved my absolute function above. And so we are looking for a solution. Let us say absolute value of x is equal to negative 10. It can never be negative 10. So I have no
Yeah.
solution. You get the idea.
Yeah.
That negative 10 line is below even the vertex when my graph is opening upwards. So that
Yeah.
is how we could visualize the situation by looking into the absolute function on the coordinate plane, which we talked about, the solution on a number line, right? And then relating it to just as you've seen, right? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Now, moving towards solution of equations, let's explore more equations. So we have simple solutions to the equations where, absolute value of x is equal to a. The solution is what? Well, clearly, the solution is what? Tell me.
A and negative A.
Plus and minus a.
Yeah.
Now let's look into the second kind of equation, which is absolute value of x minus 5 is equal to 7. How will you solve this equation and what are the solutions for this equation? Since it is positive, we expect two solutions, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me what.
Okay, so basically, since the absolute value of 7, you can have negative 7 or 7. You make
Correct.
two equations. So you get x minus 5 equals 7, and x minus 5 equals negative 7. And then you solve it normally, and you get your solutions.
Beautiful. So we have one solution as x equals to 12, which is 7 plus 5, and the other one is 7 minus 5, which is 2. Both work, correct?
Yeah.
It's a good point always to check your solutions. So if I substitute 12 here, absolute value of 12 minus 5 is basically equals to absolute value of 7, which is 7, and absolute value of 2, what did I get? Uh, minus 7 plus 5 is minus 2, right? Sorry. So minus 2 minus 5 is equals to absolute value of minus 7, which is also 7. So we have both the solutions and we have checked that they are both correct. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right. So let us take two more examples based on equations and then we are going to move forward. So now I'm going to take 2x minus, let us say 6, absolute value is equal to 18. Can you tell me the solution of this equation and how are you going to solve
Okay, since it's also a positive number, you get two equations again. So you get 2x minus 6 equals positive 18,
it? Okay,
and 2x minus 6 equals negative 18. And
correct.
then you just divide by 2 and then add 6 on the
Divide by
flip.
2. Good job. You could do that, but I wrote this. Let me just do this, right? Yes, divide by 2 was a better option. So I'll do this part, divide by 2, which is x minus 3 equals to 9. Is it okay? And now here
Yeah.
we do 2x equals to minus 12, and then x is equals to minus 12 over 2, which gives us minus 6. On the other side, we get x equals to 9 plus 3, which is x equals to 12. Is that okay? So
Yeah.
you get both the solutions, and now if you check your solutions, you will find that they are right. So for the students, I like them to check and verify that this solution is correct. Okay, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Very good. Let me complicate this equation a bit more, and this time I'm saying this is half x minus, let us say some value 8, and we are saying plus 1 is equal to 7. Now, how will you solve this?
Okay, so first, since you have to isolate the absolute value, you have to subtract 1 from both sides. So you get half x minus 8 equals 6. And then you get two equations. So half x minus 8 equals minus 6, and half x minus 8 equals 6.
Correct. And then you solve as we did earlier. Is it okay?
Yeah.
No problem. So if we have absolute function on one side or the other side, it is very easy. You could always solve the equations as we are doing just now. Is that clear to you, right? Now let us make this equation slightly more complicated. We'll take two absolute functions this time. Absolute value of x minus 5 equals to, uh, let us say, 1 plus absolute value of x. Let us say, we have introduced now two different absolute functions. How are we going to solve this equation?
Okay. So since the right side of the equation, or you can do either side, but I'm using the right
Yeah,
side, so the right side is the absolute value of the left side of the equation. You can set it to x minus 5 equals the opposite of the right side. So x minus 5 equals minus, and then in parentheses, 1 plus absolute value of x.
right. So basically now, let us try to understand these equations in a bigger picture, right? Okay. Now basically, let us redefine the absolute function. What is absolute value of x minus 5 defined as? This is equal to either x minus 5 when x is greater than equal to 5, right? Because at 5 it is 0, correct? You get this
Yeah,
idea?
yeah,
And it is negative value of x minus 5 if x is less than 5, right?
yeah,
On the other hand, the absolute value of x is equal to negative x when x is less than 0, but positive x when x is greater than equal to 0, correct?
yeah,
So that basically means that in our domain, when we're talking about, we are split at couple of points. One being at 5, the other one is at 0, right? So
yeah,
let us try to divide this plane into these portions. So where we have 0 here and then 5. We'll try to solve the equations in three different intervals now. Does it make sense to you?
yeah,
In this interval, which is on the left side of 0, we know what is this value equal to. This is negative of x minus 5, correct?
yeah,
So we could write absolute value as negative of x minus 5 equals to 1, and absolute value of x is negative x. Do you see that?
yeah,
In the interval which is between 0 to 5. Since we are above 0, absolute value of x is positive now. However, the left side is still negative. So we have negative x minus 5 equals to 1 plus x. Does it make sense?
yeah,
On the right side of 5, both are positive, and so we have an equation x minus 5 equals to 1 plus x. So these are the three different equations which we will solve and get the solution. We get the idea.
yeah,
Earlier we solved two equations. Now we have two absolute functions. They will divide the interval into three portions, just as we are looking at. We have to look into each individual interval to solve the equation. Is that clear to you?
yeah,
Let's solve. Bring x's together. So we have minus x plus 5 equals to 1 minus x. And what do we get? We get 5 equals to 1. That means no solution, correct?
yeah,
So on the left side, there is no solution. Let's do this. We have minus x plus 5 equals to 1 plus x. Now, bringing the x together, we get 5 minus 1 equals to 2x, and this is 4 divided by 2 is the value of x. So x is equal to 2. Is that clear to you?
yeah,
Third one, x minus 5 equals to 1 plus x. Now, in this particular case, x and x cancel. We have minus 5 equals to 1, no solution. Is that clear to you?
yeah,
So this equation has actually only one solution, which is 2. X equals to 2. Does it make sense to you?
yeah,
However, you could not have predicted this solution before splitting and showing it in this way, right?
yeah,
Right. So it is very important to understand how do we answer such questions. Let me clear the screen once again and take another example where we could have more than one solutions, where we have two absolute functions. Let me now this time take half of x plus, let's say plus 4 equals 2. Let me keep this as x minus 2. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Now, let us visualize by sketching these two functions. It becomes easier. So when I say x minus 2, it really means what? It means that the absolute function has moved to the second unit, right? Second place,
Yeah.
right? And it is kind of like this. Rough sketch. If you have a graph paper, you could do a better job. So this is x minus 2 function, right? So we have this x minus 2 shown here. How about half of x plus 4? Half of x plus 4 means the gradient is lesser, but it has moved 2 units to the left side, right? So 1, 2, I mean, when is it 0? Think like this. Half of x plus 4 equals to 0 where? When we have half of x equals to minus 4 or x is equals to minus 8. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So let us say going forward, this is minus 8. So beyond this point, we have something, right? So this side is kind of like this, and this side is kind of like this. You see that?
Yeah.
You do visualize they do intersect, and there is only one point of intersection, which is in the interval from minus 8 to 2, correct?
Yeah.
Now, so that is very important point. There is a possibility that this line might intersect here also, correct? Because the gradient is lesser than that gradient, correct?
Yeah.
So if we extend it, it may extend on this also, but not on the left side, correct?
Yeah.
So instead of working on three different domains, at times you could work on only two and get the solutions. You get the idea.
Yeah.
Visualization helps you to really solve complicated questions easily. Now we know that this particular function, if I solve in the interval between minus 8 to 2, then this function is negative, that is positive, right?
Yeah.
So I could write my equation as half of x plus 4 equals to negative of x minus 2 and find the value of x from here, correct?
Yeah.
On the right side of 2, both are positive, right?
Yeah.
Both are positive, and therefore I'll write this equation as half of x plus 4 equals to x minus 2 and solve and get my solution. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So I will say 4 minus 2 comes here plus 2, x minus half x, and so we have 6 equals to half x, or x is equals to 12, right?
Yeah.
I do have a solution on the right hand side, and here I have minus x. I'll bring it here. So I'll have x plus half x equals to 2 minus 4, which is minus 2. And we have 3 by 2x. So x is equals to 2 by 3 times minus 2. Is it clear to you?
Yeah.
So we get a solution x equals to minus 4 over 3 on this side. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And we are sure these are right answers because we are able to visualize more complicated question, simpler solution than the previous one. You get the idea now?
Yeah.
So when you are working with absolute function, it's a good idea to actually sketch them, visualize your solution, and then move forward, especially when there is more than one absolute function. You get the idea?
Yeah.
Is it clear to you? Tell me.
Yeah.
Can you please explain how to solve absolute function equation which involves more than more than one absolute function, right?
Okay, so so you can start off by graphing both of the equations, so you have like an idea of what they look like and the point where they intersect is its
Right.
solution. And so when you solve for it in algebraically, so you can take the left side or right side, and you can set it to the net opposite. For example, is half x plus 4. So you can set it to half x plus 4 equals x minus 2, and half x plus 4 equals to the opposite of x minus
Yes,
2.
you could do that. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you can get your solutions algebraically like that as well.
correct. Good job. So we'll move forward, and now let's move to inequalities, right? You know how to do equations now, all kinds of equations, right? Let's focus on inequalities now. Let me sketch one absolute function and then we'll solve one inequality. I'll take a very simple one to begin with. So we are saying this function here is absolute value of 2x, and we want that to be greater than 10. So what does it mean and what is the solution graphically? Can you tell me?
Okay. X is greater than 5 or negative 5.
Okay, so basically you will say you will first solve this as an equation. You understand?
Yeah.
And your equation in this case is 2x is equal to plus or minus 10, right? Because that is where they are equal, correct?
Yeah.
So that means x is equal to plus or minus 10 by 2, or we get the value of x as plus and minus 5. Is that clear to you? So
Yeah.
we do have a solution here that this is my values of minus 5 and plus 5, correct? What
Yeah.
am I looking for? I'm looking for this absolute function to be greater than this value, right? Which is
Yeah.
10. Is greater than this value clearly indicates that I have to move away from the middle portion, right?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? You see this
Yeah.
portion is greater than 5. And so we have one solution as minus infinity to minus 5. Both are not included. And from 5 to infinity. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
Easy and simple. Visualize it. I'd like you to spend some time visualizing it. I could also provide the same solution on a numbered line. Simple as that. So I'm just sketching the line below it to show you this is my solution. Does it make sense? 5 and
Yeah.
minus 5, 0 somewhere in between. That is my solution on the number line. Correct? If I have to
Yeah.
write the solution as an interval, I will say x is less than minus 5 union x is greater than 5. So you could actually represent this solution in so many different ways. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So that is how we have to look at inequalities. Always the solution is an interval, a region, right? So solution is an interval or a region. Remember that is not just a point. Is this clear to you?
Yeah.
Very good. So let's look into another example now. My question here is, show me these solutions on a number line. Absolute value of x greater than 0. Absolute value of x greater than minus 1. Absolute value of x greater than, let us say, 1. Show me these solutions on a number line. Tell me, what is the solution of these number lines? Tell me.
Okay, so for 0, I think it would be infinite solutions,
But what is not included?
but it can't be negatives.
It cannot be 0. So all values, absolute value of x greater than 0 means this is my solution. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So minus infinity to 0, and then from 0 to infinity, you could write like this, or similar thing can be written x belongs to real numbers so that x is not equal to 0. Because at 0, it is 0. We want it to be greater than 0. You get the idea?
Yeah.
So that is the inequality, and you can visualize how do we represent this on a number line or in interval notation. You get the idea. Now,
Yeah.
next one. Absolute value of x is greater than minus 1. How should that look like?
No solution.
All solutions, because it is always greater than. So x belongs
Oh,
to real numbers is the solution, or you could say from minus infinity to infinity. You get the idea. It is
yeah.
always positive, and so it is greater than the negative number. However, if I have greater than 1, in that case, you can tell me what is the solution greater than 1?
Yeah. Greater than 1 and less than negative 1.
Perfect. So greater than means this. However, if I do greater than equal to 1, I fill in these holes. That is what it makes a difference, including or excluding that particular point. You get the idea?
Yeah.
So that is all. So we have open interval, closed interval. This interval is now For equal to included, it will be minus infinity to minus 1. 1 is included. Union from, from 1 to infinity. Does it make sense? Clear?
Yeah.
Good. But if I have absolute value of x less than, let us say 10, in that case, we have seen earlier also the solution is within, correct?
Yeah.
So let me just draw this solution here. Less than means not including plus and minus 10. So that becomes my solution. Clear?
Yeah.
So I think you got a good idea about how do we solve equations and inequalities with absolute function. So we can now make the inequality slightly more complicated. Shall we move forward with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So here are more questions for you. So now let's solve this inequality. Absolute value of x plus 10 is greater than 5. Tell me, first, what kind of solution do you expect? Okay, we'll put this solution in all respects. We'll put this on the number line. We'll also show it on the graph. Okay, first, solve algebraically. How will you solve this question? Tell me.
Okay. So you get x plus 10 is equal to negative 5, and x plus 10 is equal to 5.
You are right.
And then you solve, so you get x equals negative 15 and x equals negative 5.
Correct.
And since x is greater than, you get x is greater than negative 5, but it's less than negative 15.
So it is greater than, means it is going away from, right? Not
Yeah.
including. And therefore, on a number line, you say, well, my arrows are going away. Simple as that. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So you have a solution from negative infinity to negative 15 and union negative 5 to infinity, correct? Or you can say x is less than negative 15 and x is greater than negative 5. Does it make sense to you? Simple as
Yeah.
that, correct? That is how you have to solve an inequality. Remember, it is an interval, not just a point, correct?
Yeah.
Good job. So very good. And now let's clear this. Let's go back to our starting point. We started with a number line, and now you have to write an inequality for given solution. Very important. Working backwards. So this time, let me show you the solution. On a number line, my solution is this. I need absolute inequality. Tell me.
So x, absolute value of x is greater than 0.
Very good. B. Tell me. What is the equation of this?
The absolute value of x is equal to negative 5.
Not equal to. That is not included.
So x is all real numbers, but it can't equal 5. So
Yeah, so what inequality will you write to describe this situation? Remember, the first one you got right. This was 0 for us. I didn't write actually that time, but absolute value of x greater than 0 is this solution, correct? What will
yeah,
be the solution of this?
x is greater than
Inequality?
negative 5.
So absolute value of x plus 5 is greater than 0. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Because at minus 5, it will be equal to 0, not greater than 0. So that
Yeah.
becomes the solution. Very tricky question. Okay? And that is how we are going to solve this particular question. Perfect?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have done many questions related to absolute value. Do you have any questions in mind?
No.
Okay. So can you revise or can you summarize today's learning about the absolute functions, their equations and inequalities, and representation of their solution in different forms.
Yeah. So we learned what our absolute value function is, and then we graphed simple absolute value function, like the parent function, which is f of x equals absolute value of x. So it's never the f of x can never be zero since it's absolute value, and if it
Negative,
is
negative.
anything,
Never be
yeah,
negative.
yeah. And if it's a negative number, it has no solution. And
Yes.
if it's a positive number, it usually has two solutions, but it can have one solution. And then we learned to graph it on a number line and how to visualize it. So, and in inequality form. So, for example, if absolute value of x is greater than 5, x is greater than 5, and x is less than negative 5.
Very
But
good.
if the absolute value of x is less than 5, it's within those two solutions.
Very good. Very good. So remember this, away from the fish market is greater than, close to something very important to you, maybe a school, it is within, right? So you want to be within your school periphery, right? Or I should say the area, so that you can close,
Yeah,
you easily reach there, away from nuisance, right? So that is how you could relate the two things very easily. And then you also learn different conventions of writing the solution. More than that, we actually work backwards. Given the solution, what could be the absolute function equation or an inequality, as the case may be? Correct?
yeah.
Right. So that is where I think we can end the class. If you have some school questions, you can share. Do you have something to
Okay.
share?
No.
No. Okay then. So we'll end the class here today. Enjoy your weekend and see you next class. Okay.
Bye. Have
Bye
a
then.
good day.
All the best. Good day.